Hey guys, welcome back to another video on Excel. Today, as promised last time, we're going to dive into more detail about the function match, as well as look over some lookup functions such as VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. Last time we used match, we used it in combination with AVERAGEIF. We used match to return a cell address, which we then plugged into AVERAGEIF to find the assessment averages of the student. Okay, but this time we're going to dive into more detail about the function match as said before, and we're going to do it in two ways. First, we'll talk through how we used match in the last video. So same usage as last time. We'll quote a specific student name. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5th student, for example. Theoretically, this student will have an ID of 5, and that's what we are looking for by using this function. So starting from here, this student is going to have an ID of 1, and so on and so forth, until we arrive at our 40th student with an ID of 40. So we're going to just quote the function match, and first we're going to enter the lookup value, which is going to be the student, the query item. And second, we're going to enter the lookup array, which is going to start from here because this student is going to have an ID of 1, and we're going to drag it down until we get to the 40th student. There we go. And then we're going to enter a match type. This is an optional argument, but if you want an exact match, be sure to type 0 or false. And there we go, we have an ID of 5, which is what we want. Now let's pick on some other student. Let's pick on the 40th student, the last student, and we'll see an ID of 40. Let's pick on another student. Let's pick on the 20th student. So this student has an ID of 20 as shown here. Okay, student ID is done. Now we want to find the assessment number. We're going to choose an assessment. And because match also has the capability of searching across a row as well as down a column, we're going to search across the row here to find the assessment number of lab, which is our query item. But our assessment number is going to use the function of match first and foremost. And for lookup value, it's going to be once again query. For lookup array, it's going to be these 5 because this will have an assessment number of 1, and this will have an assessment number of ideally 2. But because we are using a combined 4 rows for one cell right here, this will have an assessment number of 5, and this will have 9, this will have 13, and this will have 17. Okay, but note here, we need to manually change the V8 here into V7 because match only takes one row or one column as its array. So we want to not confuse the function match here. Once again, we're going to enter 0 for exact match, after which we're going to hit enter. This returns an assessment number of 9 because once again it's expected as this is 4 rows. 4 rows make up one of these assessments. So if we unfreeze or if we unmerge the cells here, you can see it's in the 9th row that lab shows up. Merge cells only take on the cell value of the uppermost leftist block. Let me Control Z here. And that's it for the match function. Let's dive into the VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP functions one by one now, in combination with the function match to return what we want. Now the VLOOKUP function searches down a column for one query item that we are searching for, and it returns items to the right of that query item. So let me show you how it works. Let's pick an assessment name and a student name first. Assessment name, let's take quiz, for example. For student name, we're gonna take, once again, for ease of counting, we're gonna take the number 5th student. For score, we're gonna call the function first and foremost. VLOOKUP, and it's gonna ask us for the lookup value. Because we are searching down the column of column B, or some cells in column B, the student list, we are gonna enter the lookup value as the student name. And the table array we are using is basically starting from here, student 1, and including all the scores you will want be included in this array. So in other words, maybe you want to return the score for presentation, for quiz, for lab, and so on and so forth. Okay, and for the last, well, not for the last, for the third item, we're gonna use match, the function, the match function. And for this lookup value, we're gonna look up in this assessment list to determine which assessment score to return for that specific student, as shown here. We want that number to correspond with this query item. So lookup value is obviously gonna be whatever's in assessment name. And for our second value, the lookup array, it's gonna start from this block because we started from this student. This student is the column 1, row 1 of the table array that we defined earlier here. Okay, we're gonna select the first row of the table and manually change W8 into W7 because once again, match only accepts one row or one column. And if we are searching rows, that means one row. Okay, last but not least, 0 for exact match. And then time for the last statement of the VLOOKUP function. This once again is gonna be whether you want an approximate match or an exact match. Here, we're gonna enter false or 0 for false for an exact match. When you press enter here, it will return a quiz score of 43. Let's check if that's correct. Let's find a student here. And then presentation, 16%. Quiz, undoubtedly, it's 43%. Unsurprisingly. Well, now, let's change this assessment name. Let's say we want the chapter test score for this student now. And the score is 22%. Let's check if that's correct. 22%, here we go. And let's change a student. Let's say for the third student, his chapter test score is 14%. So that's correct. What if we want the average? Well, because we included the average in both of our match and VLOOKUP functions, we actually can. So let's go to average. And this student has an average of, let's see, 47.0. Okay, so that's it for VLOOKUP. Now let's go on to its counterpart, HLOOKUP. Now HLOOKUP is basically VLOOKUP, but it looks up values in a row rather than a column. Let's pick an assessment name. Let's pick paper this time. Student name, let's pick again the number 5th person. For score, we are going to enter the function first and foremost. HLOOKUP, open parentheses. Lookup value is going to be, once again, in this row. So what assessment we want to look up? Well, that's going to be the assessment name defined here. And for table array, we're going to select the whole table except for the first column, the column B, because we don't need that in our table array. This time we're searching across the 7th and 8th row, the 7th row to be exact. so we don't need to include column B. Column B is all the student names, which we don't need. Alright, that's it for the second argument. Time for a third argument, which is again going to be match. The lookup value this time is going to be the student name. And the lookup array is going to be starting from here, the first row and first column. Well, the first row, we only care about row here. So starting from here, the first row, all the way down to the 40th student. And because we are not spanning across columns, we don't need to manually change anything this time. 0 for exact match, close the parentheses. And the fourth argument, again a 0 and close parentheses. And we get a score of 57% for him or her on his or her paper. Let's see if that's correct. 16, 43, 12, and 57, which is indicated here. Alright, let's check for someone else. Let's say the 6th student. 44%. Let's check if that's true. 1, 2, 3, 4. Indeed, that's 44%. Okay, and now let's change an assessment. Let's change to presentation. 34%. Indeed, that is. Okay. And that wraps up today's video. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked it and found it helpful, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a like for more content like this in the future. Thanks again for watching, and see you guys in the next one.